Hello and welcome back to Raise Gaming in a new episode of Elden Ring, Things You Didn't Know. Today we are talking, yes, about the recent quote-unquote leak of the DLC, some cool lore theories that we had in the comments of last time, and excitingly, some useful mechanical tips. As always, a huge thank you to everyone getting involved in the comments, making these episodes interesting for me and possible to make. But without any further ado, let's just jump into it. We begin today's episode with an interesting one. The quote-unquote leak of the information about that first DLC or expansion of Elden Ring, Shadow of Erdtree. There was this strange video that appeared on Imager of all places and had details to do with what's actually coming in the DLC, at least some of the major planned notes, as well as this interesting video where we see that same screen of Shadow of Erdtree, but obviously it's a bit animated and moving forward. But obviously, I mean, it doesn't take long to look at something like this and go, this looks a bit off. I mean, they wouldn't just have a still image that they've kind of animated to look 3D as if it's moving like this. There would of course be in-game footage or super high quality rendered cinematics. This is just not how From Software have ever done it, and it just doesn't look like anything more than, say, the image we had and someone animating it. And turns out that is exactly what this is. Apparently this was made in Unreal Engine 5, and I could believe it. And it turns out it comes from the user Cade7, who created this project as a fan-made project in ArtStation. The original is a lot clearer and crisper, say to this weird like phone recording version we had on Imager with those extra details. This was released by Cade7 over a month ago, and it was only these like fake leaks of Shadow of Erdtree that happened over the last few days. If I had to guess, I would imagine that Cade7 made this fan-made project and then someone took it out of context, recorded it on their phone, and posted it somewhere as if it's an actual leak. Although that's speculation on my part. The details of it are interesting. The expansion of DLC is as big as the main game and introduces 16 new NPC quests, the 6 new weapon types, 4 new legacy dungeons, nearly 100 new unique enemies, and they're going to release a deluxe collector's and premium edition. They even address where the expansion will be accessed, which is a big topic of speculation. They say in Ordina, which is the town you need to go to access the Erdtree here on the inner consecrated snowfield area. The final boss, Mikola the Unalloyed, is going to have 3 phases. I like stuff like this. It's fun to look at and see what people have done, and it's interesting to see how these processes take place. Like I say, I have my speculations how this one appeared. But with lots of people talking about it over the last few days, I figured we should talk about it in this series. And hell yeah, it's certainly not true. Moving on from that though, next we have one to do with the UI and a useful tip for that. Now, Evion in the comments was talking about they just learned about the Lusats staff and how you could actually do something semi-useful with it if you pay attention to the UI. It all comes down to spell cost and, of course, how Lusats makes things cost more FP but enhances the power of them. That's the trade-off. I'm sure many of us know about the staff. It's a very important one. But Evion is the one that was talking about how you can use the staff to actually plan out how much FP you're going to need. If you're planning on leveling up or maybe respecking like in this room, you can check the cost of the spells that you're going to do while memorizing them. So as you can see in the UI, it says FP cost 11 here, which is actually quite an expensive glintstone pebble per cast. You know, it's a quick and supposed to be cheap cost. And that is because I have it equipped. Even if it's still equipped, but not in my hands, that will change. And you can actually see the FP cost will have changed when memorizing a spell. So now it's no longer 11, but it's 7, a notable decrease. Something like that can help you plan for how much FP you're going to need before you maybe drink a flask, as Evion was talking about. But you can also go into your inventory and go to the same page, and you can see that the FP cost is again 7 in this menu. But as soon as I pull out the staff once more and we go back to that page, it's now 11. This is a very simple and straightforward way to find out how much FP you're going to actually be using when you have staffs like this equipped and make a plan before actually doing it. That's very important for when you're respecking. And there is another aspect to this with a carrion filigree crest, and that changes the mana, or rather FP cost, of your Ashes of War. So with it equipped, we can see that the AFP cost of Stormblade per first use is 8 and then down to 5 on the following ones. When I take off the filigreed crest, it's back up to 10 and then 6 per following ones. Little bits of information like this is pretty damn useful when it comes to respecking and making a plan for a build. It's something I use all the time, but it didn't occur to me that people might not be aware of this. So Evion, thanks for highlighting that, and hopefully that helps someone. Next up, we have a fun mechanical tip for those of you using this incantation. This is the type of stuff that I love to do because it can be very useful for if you're using this in a build. So this is all about that awesome incantation, the Blackflame blade, giving you that fiery buff for a period of time on any weapon that can take it. I really like buffs like this and how it enhances and changes movesets and even Ashes of War. And this tip comes from Caesar Gura, which I hope I pronounced right, who's talking about how this actually has a unique animation. So when you use it standing, it takes a moment, then you channel it and buff up, right? But if you are mid-sprint and try to do it, you actually have a different animation and it's noticeably quicker. You almost kind of like flick the black blade in a quick motion. Since the buff only lasts a brief period, being able to maximize the potential with this is obviously really important. But the thing is, it's not just the running attack that's quicker. In fact, there's a bunch of different animations. For example, if you do a jumping buff, it's really quick. Faster than the running attack, which is faster than the standing. If we're standing, he takes a moment, then snaps it, right? If we're running, he takes a moment, then snaps it, but quicker. If we jump it, he immediately just snaps it. And then the moment you land, you're instantly buffed up. And in fact, this is the case when I do an attack. I attack, and then we instantly pop it. If I backstep, I can instantly pop it. If I roll, I can instantly pop it. So if you are using the Blackflame blade in general gameplay, or especially in PvP where you need those exact moments to maximize your damage, knowing that there is a slow animation when you do it standing just normal, but a much faster one after an attack, or after a jump, or after a roll, you know, this is really useful to know, especially with the fact that you can do it while running, if not as fast as the other ones, still useful for gap closing, and then getting the buff on when near a target, because again, does not last very long, and maximizing that brief buff window is going to be a good idea. Although I still hope that they do buff Blackflame blade, the duration, just slightly. I still think it's a bit overshadowed by the Bloodflame version. Moving on, we have one that I'm quite excited to talk about. This comes from the user Hot Soup in the comments, which is a great name, by the way. And they were talking about how here in the Bestial Sanctum, which houses Garang, which we later know is actually Malekith, who was the one who defeated the Glowmite Queen, well, this is actually very, very close to the tower that we were looking at last episode, the Divine Tower of Caelid, and how the Godslayer's greatsword, the sword of the leader of the Godskin faction, the Gloam-Eyed Queen's sword, is located at the bottom of that tower. Malekith being tied to that, well, this is actually very close. So it's an interesting kind of reference that Hot Soup makes in the fact that, well, if Malekith's just chilling here in the Bestial Sanctum, maybe it's because he's staying near enough to the tower to guard that, and probably put it there himself and locked it away there. But it's an interesting note on the location of these two things. But it was Hot Soup that went on to talk about something that I found really interesting that I've never stopped to think about. It is Garang, aka Malekith, that gives you the Beast Eye, which might be an incorrect name for this item. It trembles when close to Deathroot. The idea is that you help Garang by bringing him Deathroot and he teaches you different bestial magic, or incantations rather. When you take a look at it, it's quite visceral, it's a bit damaged. It's claw marked on the left side, you see where the gouges are on the side. Received from Garang, Beast Clergyman, aka Malekith. The murky violet iris rives, if alive. Murky violet. Maybe I'd also describe that as gloam. Everyone's favorite theory is that Melana could be the Gloam-Eyed Queen, or like a reincarnation of her, because of the final cinematic where she talks about Destined Death, how she's going to hunt you down for doing the frenzied ending. In that cinematic, when you stop and look at her, she has one eye that is that purpley gloomy color that makes us all think when she says Destined Death, when it, you know, fades to black, the Gloam-Eyed Queen. Is Melana the Gloam-Eyed Queen? But the other eye is white, like it's blind. What if that's not even a real eye? What if it's just like a prosthetic or fake or whatever? What if the real eye, the other purple eye, was ripped from her face? Now we go back to the Beast Eye. Claw marked. As you can see, it's been ripped from the socket, I would imagine, and it's that similar color and style. What if this is actually the eye of the Gloam-Eyed Queen that Malekith ripped out when they fought, when he defeated her and took Destined Death? That is a reference that Hot Soup made in the comment, and I find it absolutely fantastic. What do you guys think of that? I'm thinking that's very possible, so I'm very interested to see what you guys think, if there's anything I'm missing. But there you have it. Episode 47 of Things You Didn't Know is down and done. Let me know what you think. Do you think the Beast Eye could be, in fact, one of the Gloam-Eyed Queen's missing eyes? Had you even heard of the DLC leak, and was it believable? If you guys have any extra tips, whether it's mechanical, lore, or to do with the discussions we talked about today, then drop it in the comments. We might just talk about it in the next episode, and of course, give you a shout out if we do. As always, thank you very much for watching though. I've been Hollow, you've been you. See you next time.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.